I think it's only fitting we start out a protest with a protest cheer. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these GMOs have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these GMOs have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these GMOs have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these GMOs have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these GMOs have got to go. Welcome to Sherwood Park's first March Against Monsanto.
First protest.
And first protest. If we get our governments to act on food safety, we may not need to march again. Otherwise, we'll be back here again next year. Today, there are millions of people around the world marching in protest against Monsanto and genetically modified foods on 6 continents, in 52 countries, in 400 cities. We're here today to learn about GMOs and the risks associated, to learn what actions we can take to protect our food, to speak up for healthy choices, and to let our politicians know that the people of Strathcona County want our food and our environment protected. We have 3 speakers. We're each going to speak briefly. And we've also... Not here? Can't come? You don't. Okay. Alrighty. We also have some information booths set up. One for Albertans for food safety, and one for the Blue Dot Tour. These booths have information pamphlets and petitions you can sign. We've got petitions spread around the bench, and we'll be talking about those in a moment. Are we going to do the lunch? Okay. So I'm the first speaker. I'm going to talk about the Blue Dot movement created by the David Suzuki Foundation. Blue Dot is calling on municipalities across Canada to recognize the rights of citizens to clean air, clean water, and safe food. A municipal declaration is a commitment to the principles of a healthy environment, and it's critical to having our environmental rights recognized at the provincial and federal levels. Around the world, approximately 110 nations recognize the right of their citizens to a healthy environment, but Canada does not. To date, over 73,000 Canadians have signed the Blue Dot petition, which we have on the bench around you. And as a result, 52 municipalities across Canada have recognized those rights. I want to be the first to congratulate Jasper, Alberta, for being the first municipality in Alberta to recognize the rights of their citizens to clean air, clean water, and safe food by signing a declaration. Let's make Strathcona County number 2. The ultimate goal of the Blue Dot movement is to see the right to a healthy environment enshrined in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Then, no matter what government is in power, our environmental rights will be protected, and environmental laws will be enforced and strengthened, never weakened, as they have been under the Harper government. I urge you to sign the Blue Dot petition to show that we are standing with Canadians across the country and that we want Strathcona County to recognize our right to clean air, clean water, and safe food. Next, I'd like to call on Susan Joyce, who is a beekeeper, and she's going to talk about the impact of monocultures, neonicotinoids, and Roundup on our bee populations.
Yes, it is your turn. Get up here.
I got my notebook.
Talk from your hearts.
Well,
Okay, well, while we wait for her, we'll do another cheer. Inch by inch, row by row, I'm gonna let my garden grow. We don't need no GMOs. Goodbye, Monsanto. Inch by inch, row by row, I'm gonna let my garden grow. We don't need no GMOs. Goodbye, Monsanto.
hi, I'm Susan, and I'm a local beekeeper. And
Closer.
yay!
Save our bees.
Okay, so I'm a little terrified, so I'm going to go to my notes here. I'm so happy to see
Closer.
everyone here, and I'm honored to see everyone here. Everyone knows the bees are in trouble. And first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to backtrack and I'm going to say how bees are making our honey. So this is for kids and older people.
Closer.
When the flowers bloom on the spring in the tree, the bees.
Can't hear you.
Oh, okay. I guess this is how. Okay. Okay. When the flowers bloom in the spring, the bees draw nectar from the flower with long tube-like tongues, like Procinus. No, Procinus. Anyway, so they store it in their stomachs and take it to the beehive. While the bee's stomach is converted to proteins and enzymes and is converted to honey. Then the bees deposit in wax combs they have. Then they fan the honey with the wings until it is just the right consistency. It has exactly the right moisture content when the cells are capped. This honey can last forever. So there's two things you can do with raw, unpasteurized local honey. If you have allergies, then you take about a teaspoon to a tablespoon every day with a little pollen if you want, and that should help your allergies. The other thing is for cuts and wounds, you just put a blob of raw, unpasteurized honey on the clean wound and bandage it. I've been using that and it's been working really great. It's working faster. So the other thing I'm going to go over to here is I listened to this on CBC radio. It's from the Nature Journal. Neonicotinoid pesticides are the most widely used in agriculture. The defenders say the bees would detect the pesticides and not go near them. There's a study that throws cold water on this theory by Dr. Geraldine Wright of the Institute of Neuroscience at the Newcastle University. She suggests that the bees may actually prefer pesticide-contaminated plants because of the nicotine effect on the brains. She did a very simple experiment with sugar syrup alone and pesticide-laced sugar syrup. And she used honeybees and bumblebees. So what happened is that it was considerable. Bees went for the pesticide-laced syrup, like considerably more. So her theory is that the nicotine is an excitotoxin that has the same receptors in bees' brains as human brains. The nicotine is like a cigarette, it's like a cigarette, and it feels better. So the bees are rewarded for this. So the bees are going out for a smoke break. After they finish, they lie around on their backs, which is totally abnormal for bees, and they shouldn't be doing that. Anyway, so think twice. Sorry, it's hard for me to think about two things at once, I guess. Think twice about buying plants from Home Depot or other such places that have tags on them saying that they're bug repellent, they repel aphids and mealybugs and other such things. So if you buy those, you'll make bees sick and die and damage them. So, okay, the last one I want to mention very briefly is bees and GMOs. This will be very brief because I know Brandie is going to go into much more depth and she's an awesome speaker, so we'll leave that to her. Okay, so this I got from the Green Planet. One of the major problems is the monoculture crops the GMOs have in Alberta, such as our canola oil and our sugar beets. They will go on for miles and miles, or kilometers if you're a young Canadian. They all bloom at once and the bees feast, but after that they are just a huge dead zone, the bees. There's nothing left for them. Since the 80s, we used to have smaller, more mixed farms. The weeds were allowed to grow as forage in the ditch. The weeds were allowed to grow in the ditches, and the bees could forage on the trees. Different species of plants, and they were all blooming at different times. So the bees would have a continuous food supply. Biodiversity is critical to all ecosystems, and is put at risk by GM. The toxins released into the soil means fewer bacteria than is needed for healthy soil. Dr. Huber talks about this as well. Then they have to use more chemical fertilizers, which are bad for the soil, and I'm not going to go into great detail about that. But they're washed into the watershed, into our lakes, rivers, and streams, which makes everything much worse. So toxicity of the chemical pesticides and herbicides are toxic to non-target organisms such as bees, butterflies, and ladybugs. Also, the thing is they build up a resistance to both weeds, bugs, and the GMO crops. So there's a big problem with that. The other thing that I'd like to say is there are places in China where the bees have all died, and the people, the families, go up in their apple pear trees, and they have to fertilize it all by hand. They all climb the trees, they have little feathers that they dip into pollen, and they go around and they pollen each flower individually. This takes probably at least weeks and weeks, which the bees, as you can imagine, would do this in a very short period of time. So that's all I have to say, and so happy to see like-minded people here that care about our future, our food supply, healthy food, healthy plants, all that great stuff. Water, air, everything. And then, so now we'll have Brandie. Yay!
Okay, let me introduce Brandie, co-founder of Albertans for Food Safety, founding director of the Canadian Council on Food Sovereignty and Health, and our Green Party candidate for the upcoming federal election.
Yay! I'm actually going to start out by giving a huge thank you to all of my volunteers that helped me put this protest together. Lita, Susan, Naomi. I just couldn't have done all of this in my busy schedule without you, and thank you so much. Everybody give them a huge round of applause. And Susan, thank you for stepping out of your comfort zone to talk about the bees. So one of the main questions that I get asked all the time is, who is Monsanto? Monsanto is a chemical company, and they are genetically modifying our food by inserting bacteria and viruses into the DNA of the plant. Now, when they do this, that makes the plant able to withstand herbicides such as Roundup, so they can then spray the Roundup on the crop and the crop does not die. Now, the problem with that is Roundup is a systemic herbicide, meaning it goes right inside the plants. Once inside the plant, when we eat the plant, we are eating the Roundup. Now, last month, Roundup was just upgraded to a probable carcinogen, which is one of the highest ratings you can get. And there is a consensus with some of the scientists where that is the cause of our cancer rates going from 1 in 2,000 to 1 in 2, and the World Health Organization is saying it's going to surge by another 57%. This needs to change. We have a problem not just with cancer, but with many chronic illnesses. We are in a situation of many modern day chronic illnesses, and you can see by the chart that I have over there by my Albertans for Food Safety booth. Now that right there is a scientific study done by some really esteemed researchers. The senior research scientist of MIT, Stephanie Seneff, her friend Nancy Swanson, who was a scientist with the the USA Navy, and Anthony Samsel. And what they did was they took all the information for the Center for Disease Control and all of the information from American agriculture, and they overlaid them in correlation graphs. Now, when scientists do this, their sole purpose is just to see if this is an area where studies need to be done. And as you can see by the correlation graphs, the correlation is outstanding. And so now they have gone ahead and they've done 3 different studies, and I have those on my Green Party website blog, my CD Sunday Talk. There's a pile of links on there, so if you want to know more information about it, just go to my website. That's spfsgreenparty.ca. Go to the blog, and I believe it's my last post or the second last post, and you can read all about that. Now, we also have, for our petitions, we have a GE-free zone. And what that means is we're petitioning Strathcona County to pass a resolution stating that no genetically modified organisms could be grown within the county of Strathcona County. And that is the first step to getting these out of our food system. We get more and more municipalities on board with this. It can go up to the yearly municipality meeting to pass a province-wide resolution, and then it goes up to the provincial government to make law. BC already has theirs up at the provincial government to make law. We are really behind, and with Strathcona County, we are about health. We are about well-being most of the time. And I think Strathcona County would be the perfect place to have this happen for number 1 for Alberta. So if you haven't signed the petitions yet, please do so. We've got them spread around so nobody's lined up for them. Make it really easy. And I do want to go back to the neonicotinoids that Susan was talking about. Now the thing with the neonicotinoids, we know they kill the bees, but they don't just kill the bees. This is a substance that bioaccumulates in the environment and persists for an extremely long amount of time. The Ontario Environmental Commissioner put out a report in not even the spring, in the beginning of this year, stating that this is the worst ecological disaster he has seen in his whole entire career, worse than DDT. Now, Ontario has listened, and they now have a ban and restriction on neonicotinoid pesticides. We need that here in Alberta. About a week after that, the EPA put out their report of a study that they did on soybeans, proving that the neonicotinoid does not increase yield at all. There is absolutely no need for this coating to be on these seeds. And a week after that, Monsanto came out with their report saying, meh, we're going to use it anyway. And this just goes to say what kind of company Monsanto is. The environmental commissioner stated it's not just killing the bees, it's killing the butterflies, it's killing the birds, it's killing the frogs, it's killing the fish, it's killing the bats, it's killing all the insects. And this is coming from a governmental body. This needs to be addressed. Sorry, I get a little carried away and I forget to breathe. Give me a second.
Susan, hold it down just a little so I can have Brandie's face. Thanks.
Sorry, they're recording me. What else do I want to say here? Oh, Anthony Samsel. So in this study that they put out 3 papers, and I just got this update on Thursday, and I can honestly say I cried for half of the day with absolute relief because I've been holding on to this information for months, and I haven't been able to say a word to anybody about it because I needed to protect this scientist. Now, they felt that they couldn't go any further on their studies without petitioning the EPA for the 1970 studies that Monsanto submitted in order to get their product registered for use in our food. They made him sign documents stating he would not show anybody these studies. These studies were sealed documents hidden under the term trade secrets, and if he showed these studies to anybody, he could be tried for treason and go to jail for the rest of his life. About a week after he got those studies and he had read them, I received an email from him where he was so distraught because he had in his hands the proof that Monsanto has known since 1970s that this chemical caused cancer, and they hid it. The EPA knew, and they hid it. I'm pretty sure Health Canada knew, and they hid it. All for the sake of a few more grains of soybeans, a few more cobs of corn, and let me assure you, we do not have a food shortage. We have a poverty issue. If you can't afford to buy the food, it doesn't matter how much food we grow, you're still not going to be able to eat it because you can't afford to buy it. We have a distribution issue. The trade agreements have us in a position where we cannot have the food going to the people that need it. We have, sorry for getting to breathe again. And we have a political issue. If the politicians are all in for the corporations and not in for the people, we will never solve this problem. And the only way to achieve that is to vote in a new government. So Samsel sat down with a lawyer with his agreement, and they put out a release that wouldn't break the law of the documents that he signed, yet he could still tell the world what was in these studies. And what's in those studies is that this causes cancer, period. And if the International Agency for Cancer Research got a hold of these studies, I can guarantee that it wouldn't be upgraded to probable carcinogen, it would now be upgraded to a carcinogen, period. I feel like I need it all. I need to be in control. So now, if we take a look at what's happening in the rest of the world, there are a lot of countries out there that won't allow these crops to be grown in their country. We have a lot of countries that won't allow these crops to be shipped into their country to feed their people. And the reason why is they have their own scientists, and their own scientists are doing their studies, and their government is listening to their scientists, which is another huge problem that we have here in Canada. Our government has dismissed 2,000 federal scientists and closed down hundreds of world-renowned research facilities and monitoring stations. And if we can't have our scientists to tell us that this is safe, then how do we know it is safe? Now my group, I have my core activism group, we put on last year an initiative to do glyphosate testing. We couldn't get it off the ground. Actually, we started a little before that. We couldn't get it off the ground because we don't even have a lab here in Canada that can test for glyphosate in food. How are they setting these safe limits in our food when we don't even have a lab to test for it? And just so you know, in these International Agency for Cancer Research, And in several other studies, one in particular was one on the microbiome of chickens, they discovered that glyphosate will kill off all beneficial bacteria in as low as 1 part per million. And even scarier is it does not harm pathogenic bacteria. Okay? And in our bowl of breakfast cereal, they are allowed to have a residue limit of 30 parts per million. This is what we're feeding our children. The GMO corn is coming in at 13 parts per million. The GMO soy is coming in at a whopping 120 parts per million. Now, our government raised the allowable limits to match the crops. Not because that is what's safe, but because that's what the crops are coming in at. Our government is of the position that the dose makes the poison. And excuse me, but the dose does not make the poison. The poison makes the poison. And if we are taking in this poison with every single bite of food that we consume, how can we assure that we are not going over that limit that they have deemed safe, which the International Agency for Cancer Research just blew out of the water with their new classification? One other thing that really concerns me is a 2011 government-funded study where they tested the air, the soil, the rain, and the waterways. They are showing 75% of the rain testing positive for Roundup. It is literally raining Roundup down on us at this point. So if everything in our country, in our earth, every plant, animal, and person is in a symbiotic relationship with beneficial bacteria, and we are covering our whole entire country and our whole entire planet with a registered antibiotic that's proven to kill off beneficial bacteria in as low as 1 parts per million and doesn't touch the pathogenic bacteria, what state is our country going to be in over time? So let's finish this up with a chant, because I like it. Heck no GMO! 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 So we put in an email to our police department to get us a police escort for our march, and I don't see them. And our march was on a super busy road, and I'm not sure that I feel comfortable to have children and this small of a group marching on our road without our police escort. So I'm going to just leave this as we have a rally. The other thing that I want to say is Roxanne Mayor Carr couldn't make it here today for us to present the petitions, unfortunately. She did have something on her schedule that was yearly. It's a yearly event. It was on the schedule for 6 months ago, and she couldn't get out of it. She sends her apologies, but I will take care of taking those petitions to her. And we will do our best to make our GE-free zone happen.
Brandie, just one question.
Yep.
I read in the alternative media sites that Monsanto is facing a huge class action suit out of California.
Yes.
Is that where that scientist that you speak of is from?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, so the question was about the class action lawsuit happening in California.
Yes.
Now, the class action lawsuit that's happening in California is all regarding the labeling on the Roundup bottle. That's it. The bottle itself is talking about it being biodegradable, which we now know is not true. It bioaccumulates in the environment, it bioaccumulates in the human body, it bioaccumulates in the animals that we are raising for meat, which are eating all the GMO soy and GMO corn in those outrageous parts per million limits. And they're trying to force Roundup to mark the bottle properly. Is there any other questions?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm surprised to see that there's no wheat GMO in wheat.
No, GMO, the wheat is actually not technically GMO. The farmers here didn't want it. And actually, I'm so glad you brought that up because I totally forgot to mention this. And this is the pre-harvest desiccation. Now, our farmers didn't want the GM wheat because they like to spray all the cereal grains with Roundup. It used to be 7 to 10 days before they harvested the crop. So when we're eating grains that are not 100% organic, we might as well be having a shot of Roundup with it. The wheat itself, though, has gone through a process called mutagenesis. And what that is they use either radiation or chemicals to damage the genome of the plant to create a desired trait. So what they used was radiation. They damaged the genome so that they could get what is known as short wheat, so that it didn't take as long to grow. So when in our climate where we don't have as long of a growing season, we could still grow this wheat. Now the problem with mutagenesis is it's not really specific. They can't contain what happens. So there's often undesirable traits that also come out. And in the term of wheat, it was 5 times the gluten. Our short wheat has 5 times the gluten of regular wheat. Any other questions?
I suggest that we could walk on the sidewalk if we go 2 by 2 and walk around this building like a few times.
I love that idea. Who tunes in for a walk just around the building on the sidewalk? Okay, before we leave, I'm sorry, I'm just really hot and I'm forgetting things. I want to talk about what we can do to help ourselves. And just because this is the system we have doesn't mean we actually have to buy into it. We can choose to opt out. And the ways that you can opt out is shop local farmers. We are so blessed in this county. We have 4 farmers markets in this county. One in Fort Saskatchewan, I believe that's on the Thursday at the Chamber. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Right, okay. And then we have the one right here in the Gora Center on the Wednesday, and this one is year-round. We are so unbelievably lucky, year-round. We also have on the Thursday here in Sherwood Park, Salisbury, which again is year-round. And then for the summer only, we also have the one Wednesday on Baseline in the Home Depot parking lot. So we are very fortunate, and just ask the farmer. Ask them how they grow. Ask them. I have one farmer that I buy from, and she will tell me, but we have an unspoken agreement. She knows I don't want any chemicals on anything I consume. So as long as she doesn't say anything, I know it's chemical free, and as soon as they've had to spray for something, she tells me, and she tells me how much, and then I get to make a decision on how bad I want that. The other thing that we can do is grow your own. As you can tell by my lack of nails, I've been putting in my garden, and it is absolutely astronomical how much food you can grow in a backyard garden. My very first year, I just had one 20 by 20 garden, and it blew me away. And I think that was the turning point of where I realized there's no way we have a food shortage. If this tiny little garden can put out enough food to last us halfway through the winter, where my family of 4, there's absolutely no way we have a food shortage. The other thing, and again, we are so unbelievably blessed and lucky, is we have really good grocery stores with good organic options. We have a 100% organic grocery store, urban organic, on Y Road, right beside the Dollarama. I do a good deal of my shopping there that I can't get at the farmer's market. And then we have Save On Foods, and Save On Foods has organic options down every single aisle. Now I understand tight budgets, and trust me, I'm on one as well. Part of the reason why I had a garden, because I almost bankrupted us trying to buy all organic. But if you really can't afford that and you don't have room to grow, look up the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 and try to follow that. And that will really help you limit the amount of chemicals that you're consuming. So, Susan? Where did Susan go?
Right over here.
Okay, how about if we do this? Hey, do you want to hold the banner, you and Susan, while we go?
Yeah. The other thing I'd like to mention, Brandie, one of the arguments for the pro GMOs is that they can't, there's too many people to feed the population.